So I'd just like to preface this before I get into the episode. I have not seen the inaugural reboot episode of Ring of Honor, so I can't comment on much that's happened other than what I've heard from the taping. So with that asterisk out of the way, let's talk about Ring of Honor. Hello and welcome to FTTR, I am Hugh McQuaid, and today we are talking about Ring of Honor and 5 ways it can be a success. But before we dive into that, please hit subscribe, please like this video, please comment your thoughts down in the comments below as we get into Ring of Honor, which has the new show up on Honor Club. You can watch it right now as we speak, and I don't see a lot of buzz for it, unfortunately. There's a lot of stuff sort of swirling about this show, whether it was difficult tapings or just stuff wasn't going right. So I think with a brand like Ring of Honor, something that is near and dear to wrestling fans' hearts, we need to be careful with this. We need to figure out how it can succeed going forward. Now that Tony Khan has purchased the company and is seemingly set on keeping it on Honor Club and doing these weekly shows, I'm not actually sure how long they were. They had a big match card, so I don't know how long a Ring of Honor episode is, but let me know down in the comments. Shall we just dive into 5 ways Ring of Honor can be a success? Coming in at number 5, we have killer premium events. Now we're talking about stuff like Supercard of Honor, we're talking about Death Before Dishonor, we're talking about all the pay-per-views that Ring of Honor put out, and seemingly they're on the right track for that. It looks like the main event for, I think, what is it? I want to say it's Supercard of Honor is the next one, which sort of just shows how disinterested and how mismarketed that pay-per-view has been. It seems like it's barely talked about on Dynamite, and I know we were complaining a few months ago that it was too much ROH on Dynamite, but we do need to see some sort of implications and promotions for the other big event you've got at the end of March. Let us not forget that. And it looks like they're building sort of well towards that. It looks like the main event is going to be Eddie Kingston versus Claudio Castignoli for the Ring of Honor World Championship. That sounds tasty. Potentially getting Shibata versus Wheeler Yuta also sounds tasty. So there's a lot of good stuff going for that, and they need to keep up that momentum. That's why NXT did really well in the takeover circuit, because it was 5 matches long, all killer, no filler, great shows top to bottom, and that's why they're remembered so fondly and why we have such good memories of takeover shows. Ring of Honor can become that if they do really well with these premium events and their pay-per-views. So I'm very excited for the show at the end of March. Again, I think it's Supercard of Honor, but I could be wrong, and we'll see how that goes. But number 5, they need to handle those events extremely well. Number 4 for me, and this might be a bit off base one, I am not a businessman. I am not. I do not know anything about business. Look at me. I'm on YouTube talking about wrestling, making zero money from that. I'm not a businessman. I just talk how it is. But I think Ring of Honor should remove the paywall for people to watch the show. I don't know whether it will be served better on YouTube, but I think that is the biggest thing stopping an audience from gravitating to the Ring of Honor show, is that Honor Club here is like $9.99, which roughly makes it about £7, I think. Because I did subscribe once in a while. I think it was something like £7, and is that worth it? With everything, all the content you've got out there, you've already got an AEW Plus, you've already got a WWE Network, you've already potentially got Independent Wrestling TV, you've potentially got Impact Plus, you've potentially got New Japan World. There's all these different streaming services out there that show wrestling content on top of stuff like your Netflix, your Apple TV, your Prime Video. All this stuff builds up, and I think the paywall of being that steep just for a Ring of Honor service, I think that's a bit too niche. I think, like, if there was just an NXT, I know I'm going to compare, you're going to see a lot of NXT comparisons in this video, but when NXT was on the network, if there was a separate network showing NXT, would you have subscribed to that? I don't think you would have. I don't think there's enough content there to get me to go to an Honor Club, which is why I think they need to remove that paywall entirely until they have an AEW streaming service, which they do sort of here with Fight. They have like AEW Plus, where you get all of AEW, you get AEW Dark, Elevation, Rampage. So I don't know why they can't just, at least here, factor in Ring of Honor onto that. It makes more sense to me, because then I'm not begrudging to watch it. Am I going to go out of my way and pay that amount of money to subscribe just in case the show is good? So I think removing that paywall will make it more accessible, and therefore you will have a bigger audience. Coming in at number 3, we have AEW stars take ventures to Ring of Honor, but not the other way around. AEW stars crossing over to Ring of Honor could be very exciting. It could be like brand split territory. You'd love for one day to just have Kenny Omega show up for a one-off appearance. Maybe have a banging match with, I don't know, Dalton Castle or someone like that. Maybe you could get... I nearly said my number 2. I'm not going to go into that. We'll hold that. Maybe Bryan Danielson goes across and has an insane exhibition match with Wheeler Yuta for the pure title. Maybe the Acclaimed go across or something like that. But I think that Ring of Honor coming over, it creates that you're forcing Ring of Honor down our throat vibe, whereas if you're doing it the other way around, I don't think the people watching would feel like you're taking away what Ring of Honor is by bringing in these stars. It was like when Cesaro went over to NXT UK and had that banger of a match with Ilya Dragunov, or when Finn Balor went across and had the match with Jordan Devlin. There's a lot of stuff that can be done with bigger stars going over and putting over younger talent or Ring of Honor talent who eventually are going to cross over to AEW, which I know just sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but maybe it should serve as that developmental sort of thing and maybe just cement a brand split, because that's the other thing. You're getting Claudio on 2 shows, potentially 3, if you've got him on Rampage, Ring of Honor, and AEW Dynamite. So there's a risk of oversaturation there if you're watching all 3 shows, but I don't know if people are. So AEW stars cross over to Ring of Honor when needed. Coming in at number 2 is CM Punk. Come on. I think you have CM Punk under contract. He is a big contract. He's a big boy. Him telling a story in Ring of Honor, he loves Ring of Honor. You can clearly tell he loves Ring of Honor from his Revolution entrance when he was facing MJF, and he had the AFI music. So I think he's got great affinity for that. I think he could tell really good stories within Ring of Honor. Maybe have a reign of terror and eventually put over like a Daniel Garcia or someone like that. One of the younger guys in Ring of Honor that they really pushed, or Wheeler Yuta. I think there's a lot of mileage in Punk in Ring of Honor. I know it'll never happen. That is like, he's not going to go to Ring of Honor. He's not. But I think you could just do such good stuff with Punk in that brand, and that'd get so many more eyes on the product. Whether he'd want to do it is another question, but I think Punk would really work wonders for this new Ring of Honor. And coming in at number 1, it is the simplest of simple things that will get Ring of Honor success. And that is killer stories. That's all they need. They just need impeccable storytelling on this show to garner buzz. And I'm talking they need like bloodline level storylines in order to gauge interest up so much. I think there is grounds to do that with Claudio and Kingston. I think that could be a really exciting feud. I think there's grounds to do that with Mark Briscoe and his story throughout Ring of Honor. I think he's got a lot of stuff to do in that brand. I think you could do that with potentially some New Japan guys coming across, maybe an AEW invasion or a ROH invasion angle or something like that. There's a lot of mileage and stories here. It can't just be another AEW product where there's good wrestling, because we have that on Dark, we have that on Elevation, we have that on Rampage, we have that on AEW Dynamite. You really need to distinguish this as something else by focusing on storytelling and character. You've got less time, therefore more focus should be on keeping viewers engaged, and good wrestling just doesn't cut it anymore. It doesn't. You've got great wrestling everywhere you look. It needs to be these incredible stories about honor, incredible stories about, sacrifice. They're just so, you could go so deep with the stories in Ring of Honor and the breadth of talent that they have. So that's the thing that will get it. Nearly did it because it's just so close in my mind. That is what will get ROH the success that it needs. Simply put, it just needs killer stories. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you think ROH will be a success? Let me know everything you want to about ROH down in the comments, and I'll try to reply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support, and have a nice day.